Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay. I'd like to call the regular meeting for Tuesday, August the 25th of Sumter County Council to order. Ms. McGaney, would you please give us an invocation?
Absolutely.
Let us stand.
Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you, Lord, for allowing us to come to the table again to discuss the business that you've placed before us. We thank you for being the God that we can call upon. You are the one in whom we live and move and have our being. And we thank you for your blessings from the time we had our last meeting up until this time. We thank you for answering our prayers. There are so many who are suffering, so many who are dying. And thank you for the assurance that death is not the end. And as we come to this meeting, we ask that you guide us through every item and help us to make the decisions that are pleasing in your sight. Help us to always remember our men and women who serve us in uniform, especially those who are in harm's way. We ask that you be with those who are facing those storms in the Gulf area. We know that you are all powerful and you have a perfect will. Be with all of us and bless our country. These and all blessings we thank and ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
We have a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we've approved the agenda for our regular meeting for Tuesday, August 25th. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, approval of the agenda passes unanimously. We have a motion to approve the minutes from our regular meeting for Tuesday, August 11th.
Second.
Mr. Byrd and Mr. Sumter seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Approval is unanimous. Land Use Matters, RZ 2011. Ms. Ruderman.
Slide. Our first request is RZ 2011. Actually, it's our only request this evening at 1855 Loring Mill Road. The applicant, Mr. Jeffrey Faw, is here to speak on behalf of the request. Mr. Faw is requesting to rezone a little over 12 acres from residential 15 to agricultural conservation. Slide. As you can see, this is the location of the property. It is just across the street from Lee's Preserve subdivision on Loring Mill Road. Slide. It is a heavily wooded property that backs up to a pond and a wetland and a creek. Slide. This land itself is zoned R15, but across the street is agricultural conservation. Slide. The reason that this request is coming before you today is the applicant wishes to divide this into two pieces to facilitate development of two single-family homes where the accessory structures can be built before the houses are built. The only zoning district in the county that actually permits this is the Agricultural Conservation Zoning District on a piece of property that's 5 acres of size or larger. Currently, the development on the site does consist of a shed that's on the easternmost portion of the property. This is an agricultural building, so it is allowed by right. Slide. As you can see, the property is heavily wooded. Slide. This property is influenced by both the suburban development, the conservation preservation, as well as the military protection planning area. Both the military protection planning area as well as the conservation preservation planning area support rezoning requests that actually decrease the possible densities for this property. So this is supported by the plan. Slide. Planning Commission is recommending approval of this request. It's consistent with the future land use plan, and it will be developed in a manner that's consistent with property in the surrounding vicinity. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. We also do have Mr. Foddy speak on behalf of the request.
Any questions? This is second reading, so there is a public hearing. So I'd like to call the public hearing for RZ 2011 to order. Anyone wishing to speak against the rezoning request? Seeing none. Anyone wishing to speak on behalf of the rezoning request? Please proceed to the microphone. Mr. Fall.
I just want to thank you all for your consideration. Thank Ms. Rudman for helping me navigate through this, and the great job that they've done at the planning department in analyzing this and supporting my request. And so I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fall. I now declare the public hearing closed.
Approval second reading. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve second reading for RZ 2011. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Second reading passes unanimously.
Thank you.
New business ordinance number 2932, which is an emergency ordinance to require individuals to wear face coverings in the county of Sumter, South Carolina.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Bacon's request, so if you'd like to introduce it.
Mr. Payton?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. As you know, I researched the need for wearing a face mask in Sumter. And as I read this emergency ordinance, it just about spelled out all of the things as the reason why. Coming from Dr. Linda Bell, who's the state epidemiologist, and from other people throughout the state, that wearing a mask will definitely cut down on the transmission of COVID-19, I'm sorry. And what we need to do is realize that this virus has a disproportionate impact on a certain population in our community. And it was really surprising to me that after I mentioned this at one of our meetings, a couple of days later, I opened up the Sumter Daily item out of my mail box, and the next thing I know, there was a big headline saying, new South Carolina virus data show localized racial disparity. And that's what I was looking at when I got with the coroner, Mr. Baker, and I asked him to give me some figures, and I asked the county administrator to present that to us. But I was really concerned about the impact it was having on African Americans in our county, and that African Americans was making up about 73% of the deaths that we had in the county. Now there's a slight disparity between the number of deaths, because DHEC is reporting 57, whereas our county coroner is saying we have 49. But out of those 49, 73% of them are African Americans. And unfortunately, the most people that it affects is black females. They are 20 out of that 49, 20 of them black females. So I also looked at me being a veteran and being in a vulnerable population, and that this county has almost 15,000 veterans But many of those veterans are combat veterans. Like myself, I never served in combat, but I served in the combat zone. But being in that combat zone, I was exposed to a chemical called Agent Orange. Agent Orange was a chemical that was sprayed around bases in Vietnam and Thailand, where I was stationed, to kill the foliage around so that the enemy could not sneak up on the base. But Agent Orange had a great impact on the people who served at those bases. Some of the common diseases that the people developed was ischemic heart disease, prostate cancer, and type 2 diabetes, and others. And I unfortunately was contacted and had all three of those diseases. So with my age and those diseases, I, along with a lot of other veterans in my category, are at high risk. If we get diagnosed with COVID-19, our chances of survival are not that good. So I'm asking that we consider this, that we look at the fact that most of the people that have died is between the ages of 60 and 80, and most of our Vietnam veterans are in the late 60s and early 70s. So that's where we have a high group of people at. So we got to look at the Veteran of Foreign War, American Legion, Disabled American Veteran, Sumter, South Carolina Combat Veteran Group. All of these groups have veterans that have Agent Orange symptoms and are at high risk of dying if they ever contracted COVID-19. So with that in mind, I would just like to make the motion that we approve the emergency ordinance that is listed, ordinance number 20-932. Thank you.
There is a motion on the table to approve emergency ordinance number 2932.
And I don't mind seconding
Ms. McKinney seconds. Any discussion?
Yeah, I've got a quick question. In the county, I think it's a little bit different than in the city. But my concern would be, and I own a business like this, so if you have a car wash and people are out there washing their cars, have they got to wear a mask at that?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
I'd like to know things like that. I mean, because they're, what this ordinance is saying that they would.
Well, it's saying too, if they can socially distance, then you can look at the fact that if they're not within 6
So if
feet or so.
so if they're socially distancing, they don't have to wear a mask
That's,
in any place.
no. It says you should always try to be socially distanced even though you're wearing a mask. What I'm saying is, if you got people out there that are washing cars, they can take the mask off if they're not within 6 feet of someone and wash the car.
Yeah, well, my concern is, you know, if they weren't, if somebody, I'm not there because they're 24/7. So if somebody turned me in because someone is not wearing a mask, could they, and here you're saying they would take my business license?
No. I'm not saying that.
I thought that's what I read in here. Don't we already have, wouldn't we do a resolution
Well,
from the county? Some type of resolution, didn't we do that already?
we did a resolution, and the resolution was not strong enough because we were urging people to wear a mask. That means that people had a choice if they wanted to wear one or not. And a lot of people who didn't want to wear a mask would make a lot of nonsense statements about it's violating my constitutional rights. It's violating my liberty. Well, wearing a mask doesn't violate anyone's constitutional rights. The First Amendment protects freedom of speech, press, petition, assembly, and religion. There are two reasons why mask mandates don't violate the First Amendment. First, the mask doesn't keep you from expressing your feelings and yourself. And second, the First Amendment, like all liberties ensured by the Constitution, is not absolute. All constitutional rights are subject to the government authority to protect the health, safety, welfare of the community. This authority is called the police power. The Supreme Court has long held that protecting public health is sufficient reason to institute measures that might otherwise violate the First Amendment or other provisions of the Bill of Rights. So what they're saying is that it has been tested that when you have a situation where people are dying from a spread of a virus, that the government can institute laws that will make wearing masks mandated, period. And it doesn't violate anyone's constitutional rights.
Any further discussion? Any further comments? We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve emergency ordinance number 2932. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, please raise your hand. I see 3. All opposed, do the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 nays and 3 ayes. Emergency ordinance number 2932 fails to pass. Committee reports. Personnel Technology Committee meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a Personnel Technology Committee meeting this afternoon, and we did have a quorum. And we had some very good information that was shared with us. I want to make sure that I can be heard. We had some very good information that was shared with us. And out of the first one was a request to add an animal control officer position to the county's position. Oh, okay. Secretary, all right. Yeah, that was the amendment. Thank you. I didn't have a pen at the time. Thank you. But anyway, the committee grants approval with a motion and a second. And I will add that there is no added financial obligation from the county. They've been creative in the way that they request these things to help us stay fiscally sound. And so from the committee, we have a motion and a second to grant the approval of that Animal Control Secretary position.
We have a motion and a second from the Personnel Technology Committee to add the position to the Animal Control Shelter of Animal Control Secretary. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, and the next item was from our emergency, EMS services. And we had Mr. Kent Hall, and I think he might still be here. It's hard to see out there, but he brought us an excellent presentation as to how they are managing even with all the vacancies that they have. And he's a teacher, and we appreciate all that they do. And so he gave a really great information, especially how they plan to grow their department through training and reaching out to the public, especially to our local residents and people that live in the area, to try to alleviate the vacancies and to lighten the burden of working all those long hours. And so we don't have to take any action, but I would just like to acknowledge his presence if he's still in here, just to thank him for what they're doing. And EMS, he's already gone. Okay, I can't see. But what he's doing is he's alleviating the vacancies by training, and he's saving the county some money. And he's doing all that without asking the county for another dime. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. McGaney, for that report. Are there any reports from council meeting members on meetings, trainings, conferences, or other comments? Hearing none, I didn't see any monthly reports in our, okay, Mr. Mixon, County Administrator's report.
Mr. Chair, two quick items. First, I'd like to report that the move back to the administration building started last week for our administration offices, Mr. Bryan's office, council's office, and HR. So we have relocated back to the administration building, and while we're not fully functional, we can operate over there. We're still living out of some boxes, but we'll work through that process this week and next week. The first part of this week, yesterday actually, we started the move back for the auditor, treasurer, and assessor's office back to the first floor. I should also mention, I apologize, finance and purchasing also moved back with us last week, so that leaves the assessor, auditor, and treasurer's office to move back. They started that move yesterday. It seems to be going smoothly. We're trying to do it in a manner in which we wouldn't have to shut down the treasurer or the auditor's office, so we're moving partially yesterday with one group, and by the middle of the week, we hope to be moving the rest of the department back over. So we hope to be fully functional with our operations in the administration building by the end of this week, which will allow us then to potentially open back up to the public starting next Monday on the 31st. That's our goal and that's our plan at this time. Also, I should mention that as far as council meetings go, we anticipate that we'll stay at this location at least until probably the end of October, primarily because of the social distancing requirements would be very difficult in your new council chambers. We'll also, right now, our tentative plan would be to stay here at least till the end of October. Also, we will be scheduling maybe a virtual, probably a modified virtual ribbon cutting at our new facility at some point in the near future as well. So it's a beautiful building, a lot of great work's been done, and we're happy to get back over there and get back to our normal operations. The second item I would like to report on tonight, Mr. Baton asked for some specific information regarding the COVID numbers. I've asked Ms. Dennis to review those numbers, and if she would, to give us a report this evening on what she's been able to find.
I think that Mr. Baton, Councilman Baton asked about the specific numbers from the coroner's office, and I believe you touched on the numbers, and I have the same numbers from Mr. Baker as well. And as of August 17th, he gave me a total of 49 people that died here in Sumter from COVID-related deaths. And of the 49, 16 of them were African-American males, 21 were African-American females, 7 were Caucasian males, 4 Caucasian females, and 1 other male, which totaled 49, and that was as of August 17th. And I also have some demographical data that I'll be more than happy to pass out to all of you regarding the number of positives for the state of South Carolina as well as Sumter County, and the number of deaths for the state of South Carolina and Sumter County.
I got one quick question. I know Gene brought it up. Why is the coroner's numbers different than the DHEC numbers?
Because the coroner doesn't, some of DHEC's number include everything, every facility in the coroner's office does not.
So if someone dies in the hospital, that's not a...
It may differ from what Mr. Baker would give us. So his numbers as of the 17th more than what the state has. Because you have some who may have died in residential facilities and then hospitals, not necessarily in Sumter County, but in other counties as well. But they live here in Sumter.
Any other questions or comments of Ms. Dennis?
Yes, I just like to say that the report I got, the figures I'm using is, I'm looking at the Sumter Idol and the article that's in the Sumter Idol, which is today's paper, and it just says, on Monday, DHEC announced 543 new cases of virus and 7 deaths, bringing the total number of people who have tested positive in South Carolina to 11,202. And the death toll of 2,387. In Sumter, 2,727 people have tested positive and 57 have died. So that's what I'm using, the information that I researched in the paper today, and getting DHEC figures from as of Monday, was their quoting.
Mr. Chair, Council, if I could add, a lot of the information that Ms. Dennis has been able to gather changes so rapidly. I know that she started on this project, and we had a little bit of conversation about this today in the office. While she's been working on these numbers for a few days, they change so quickly that she gets a number and then she goes back and reviews and it's already changed again. There are some websites with some really great information, very detailed information that we will be happy to share with council if you'd like to do your own review of those numbers. But even, I'm sure, as we're reporting out tonight, these numbers have probably changed this afternoon. While we could, get up each meeting and share this information, it's really information that's readily available to you or anybody else in the public on certain sites, again, starting from middle of March all the way up to today. But according to the most recent information, and Ms. Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks as though the numbers are coming down for Sumter County significantly. We're no longer in that high risk category. So it looks as though, and I hate to be overly optimistic as Ms. Dennis claims I am sometime, it looks as though we're making the turn in Sumter County. But certainly one of the things we have to watch, and I think not only locally, state, and even nationally, we've got another big holiday coming up. I guess it's in the end of the month. Labor Day will be coming up, and that's another hot potential for an increase. So I know everybody's watching that, but at least right now, we're pleased to say that it looks as though Sumter is doing better. And our numbers, or at least our daily numbers, are coming down for positive cases. And something we'll continue to watch. But if you're certainly interested in that information, please reach out to Ms. Dennis. She'll be happy to share any of those websites with you, and you can track it daily, I hate to say almost hourly if you like. That's all I have, sir.
And if I might also add, I want to also thank Helen Rudman, because Helen has really provided us with a whole lot of information regarding COVID-19 cases here in Sumter and then entire state of South Carolina.
Before we jump for joy as to the fact that these numbers of people testing positive are going down, we have to realize the reason why they're going down is because we are not testing as many people. According to a county level data dashboard, DHEC revealed August 11 Sumter County is testing at one of the 5 lowest rates among the state 49 counties. Sumter has, as of Monday, tested just more than 13,000 residents and not more than 200 a day since July the 22nd. The countywide population is 101,000. So the reason why we don't have enough positive not increasing is because, just like Mr. Clay Lowder said, at Colonial Healthcare, we're not testing. So if we don't test, the statistics or the data or the number of people will walk around infected and infecting other people because they are not being tested. And that's the problem.
You can't make them test, because I know I went to Hillcrest and got tested when it was an option there. They had it at Rafting Creek. I didn't even have to wait in line, so evidently people don't want to get tested, because they had the opportunity to go right through, and it took me 5 minutes to get tested.
And if I might also add, and I've made the comment to Mr. Mixon as well, there have been a lot of positives in the past, because if someone tests positive and after 14 days of being quarantined and they go back and get retested and they come back up positive and they go back again and they continue to get positive, those numbers continue to go up. As you know, the CDC is now saying that you quarantine for 10 days. And after you self-quarantine after being tested positive, you don't have to go back again to get tested. Because they too realize that if you're positive, it's going to take a while to test negative. They're even saying that it can take up to 6 months for you to come back with a negative result.
But are you still able to spread it after 10 days?
You're non-infectious, according to the CDC. And that's all we can rely on right now.
But I know that the county and the state have provided, I think, did they do it out in Shiloh also, Vivian? I think
Yes.
they're providing the tests. It's just,
We've done several tests.
Yeah,
We did one at the Civic Center about a week ago,
Yeah.
and the turnout was not well at all.
yeah. I mean, I didn't even, like I said, there was one car in front of me when I did it. So.
We had a good, nice flow of people in Charlotte.
Motion to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.